You know what? I really, 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 really love our jingle. And I didn't quite convey the excitement, I don't think, because we don't hear the jingle. We play it after the fact. So I really love our new jingle. So thanks again, Scott, for your amazing work. I thoroughly enjoyed playing it on replay many a time. And hopefully, I think last week I was happy about it. But you know, when you kind of like replay the tape, you're like, actually, I don't think I was as happy as I actually am, because Tom and I have been listening to it for a while and have been excited. We should have.
What was it? Post and pre video, but during the time that you managed to show your happiness.
And also, what we should have done is we should have recorded ourselves listening to it for the first ever time, because that would have been fun as well to do.
That was my bad. Sorry, Scott.
So Tom is looking hot, and I want to give him a hot take to match him looking hot. In both senses of the word. My hot take is stop standing still. You're literally going to be forgotten about if you stand still. What I mean by that is technology is coming for you. ChatGTP is coming for your job. And if you don't move, then you're going to be eaten by AI. So stop standing still. Tom, are you standing still, yes or no?
I'm sitting still. Metaphorically, okay, I'm moving forward, but right now I'm physically sitting still.
It's like Predator. If you hold still, he won't realize you've moved because you've covered yourself in mud, and basically his heat sensing like radar thing won't capture you.
I think he'll clock with me with my heat today.
Well, it's reds all round because I'm also drinking red. So,
red wine? I've turned off my screen so I can't see.
Oh, right. I just held up a bottle. Yeah, for those of you not watching, for the radio listeners, I held up a bottle where I'm drinking, you know, when you go to IKEA and you have that the red stuff, Ligdenberry or Ligonberry or whatever they call it. So that, super tasty. But yeah, so stop standing still. Back in the day when the Industrial Revolution kicked in, and I'm sure we've had other revolutions, but I can't think of it. Any other revolutions. But the main one is like engines, right?
Strong history, and then you're like, but I'm not really sure what else is out there. But this is the thing that I do know.
but the one you
like a historian in that first sentence, and then you instantly lost that repertoire,
the conviction. It's because it's like, oh, actually, I don't know if there are any. But the major one that we all know about is when we all started to use engines. And that's the one, the prominent one, the Industrial Revolution, when people were manual labor and picking at that rock to get your coal or whatever you need, hat tip to RuneScape, and then you basically get replaced by a machine now doing it. Now, the displacement of those people, they become engineers. And we've mentioned this before in our pod. So we kind of want to like take it further to be like, bring it up to today and now and question yourself. Is what you're doing today like automatable, and can a bot do it? So we are familiar with ChatGTP, and what we should do is reel out some examples of that, so people can be like, hang on a minute, I can be automated. And what you can do to get out of that situation, a lot of people fear AI, one, because of the ethics and the dynamics of it being a decision matrix. So we've already seen Apple's credit card giving favorable or unfavorable credit scores or credit ratings, credit availability to certain people purely based on factors that are baked into an AI model that makes decisions, and that being unfair. And that's a mixture of factors that are baked in. So of course we should be scared about how they're being built, and we should make sure that the data in is good data, because data in is good data out, hopefully. But if you're feeding it bad information, then you're going to get bad information out. So I would say, like, we should probably outline some things that you can like double check whether or not this is like, are you going to be able to be automated away? So what comes to mind when it's things that, like, because you've used a bit of ChatGTP and understand it a little bit. And if not, you can ask me and I'll tell you if you get automated away or not.
Comment down below.
If you're in this group if you're a 6 or above, then you're going to be automated away or whatever, like in the categories of industries.
That's funny. Yeah, I've been using Notion AI because I've finally been off the waiting list and allowed in. So I've been messing around with that. So we tend to have a I don't know, how do you communicate a connect group? So a connect group is like
A group of people
that
meet in a weekday.
That meet in a weekday and tend to
I am your chat GTP.
and check up on people. Maybe we should insert these comments into ChatGPT whilst we're doing this. But anyway, we'll do that now.
I'm 100%, and remind me to say about synthesized voices, because I've programmed myself as an AI, but come back to me on that one. So yeah, a group of people that meet in the week to check up on each other. And it happens to be called a small group or a connect group or something, whatever your variation is.
Tend to study the Bible also, because it's in the context of the church. So what we've been exploring is basically a book in the Bible in the New Testament called Colossians. So there's 4 chapters, and each week we look at one chapter and then look at group questions. And basically there's what we have to do at the moment is do research, Google, YouTube, whatever. We find these questions, review them, see if they're any good, and then take them. But what we've been trying to do is through Notion, writing out, give group questions on Colossians 4, for example. And then it might spew out 5, and then you'd say, write more, and then it'll spew out 10 or 12, and then we'll just review it and then done. And I think it's like removing the heavy lifting of research, but I guess it's highlighting where your lane is as a leader or as a human being or whatever, is that the emotional, mental gate of either using that question to work the group and make the group think, or maybe the question's too open or not, or too closed. I guess it helps you be the social and mental conductor more so, rather than a question finder, if that's such a word. We make words on these in this podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always caught on that.
What was your word earlier?
I don't even know.
Or something.
Yeah, well, I'll remind myself if I just keep speaking it, I'll come back to us. So just for context, Notion is basically a form of Google Docs or Google Drive. Google Docs is basically a Word document on steroids. A Word document is basically a digital piece of paper that you write on.
A digital piece of paper is like a normal piece of paper, and a normal piece of paper is like writing on a rock.
Yeah.
And if you don't live under that, you're under that rock.
Yeah, and you've not moved. So I completely agree. So using AI to enhance learning by asking questions and use it as a research tool, I did exactly the same. I chatted to someone at church, and random guy was like, what do you think of Jacob's character? And I was like, I'm not ready for this, but went away and started just asking questions about stuff. And obviously you have to vet some of the answers, because some of the answers are skewed, or some of the kind of opinions, because its historical knowledge is a bit skewed. In the sense of it doesn't go back far. It's not today's information. It doesn't go beyond, doesn't go to current date. It's only back to 2021, I think. But you can just quiz it. So I was asking about like, what characteristics does Jacob show? Like if, like Jacob did a personality test, what would he come out as like a Myers-Briggs test? Then you just like digging deeper. So as the answers come, you kind of like converse with it to get more information. You can ask it for non-standard narratives, so it'll give you some additional thoughts and stuff. And I found it super helpful to kind of do like a study. It's kind of like a study guide or a study buddy to do research on. And I think educational institutes are already banning it as a tool if you're making the whole document, your whole what you call essay based off it. If you just say write an essay about the impact of web design or blah blah blah, then it would produce something for you, of course. But if you're using it as like a study aid, as a way to introduce new narratives, and then you take those new narratives and those points and then craft them, I think, like personally, I'm okay with that, and I'm personally okay with utilizing the tool in its entirety as a research thing, as a like creative generator.
And this is dated in 2023 before the robots take over in 2024, and you go, I don't agree.
Yeah, fast forward to me in 2 years' time when I'm like, why did we give the robots so much leeway? Yeah, gone back to no digital. But I think another really helpful use. So GitHub is a repository of kind of like coding projects. It's owned by Microsoft. Microsoft own part of OpenAI, which have built ChatGPT. And there's something called GitHub's Copilot, which you write sentences and it will code out the actual coded text, functions, objects, variables, all the rest of it that you need to do what you've written out in a sentence. And then you copy that into your code and you start running it and it hopefully works. One thing that I did was I run... I basically have a bunch of entries in my Airtable database, like 5,000 entries in my database. I didn't know how to create a plugin, which is, remember those word clouds where it would pick out words that are repeated the most? I have no idea how to create an Airtable plugin, but I asked ChatGPT, create an Airtable plugin that basically loops through my entries and creates a word cloud. It basically gave me, I know, knocked my whole laptop over. It gave me a piece of code which I ran locally. Now, of course, I need to know how to run modules and plugins locally to be interacting with Airtable. But it actually did it. So then it created a cloud of words, and I was able to pick out the words that were being used the most. Again, with any sort of building websites, I'm able to save hours because I know what I want to do. And ultimately, I'm going to have to Google that stuff anyway, because expertise is not necessarily knowing everything. It's knowing what keywords to put into Google. So if you're able to write or convey a sentence of an idea and it generates what you want, then ideas are now more valuable than what they were before because the execution has been automated for you. So I'm excited for it in the use cases that we've shared. Of course, if you're an IT specialist and you're in an IT department, and
I've used it as well for something else.
And you'd be worried that someone's going to write, hey, this website here, hack it. Well, of course, that does make sense. It will try and hack the website if it doesn't have the right guardrails. And therefore, you technically need to have your own bot that's preemptively kind of saying, if I was going to be hacked, where would they go? You know, so you want AI to battle AI. So don't be scared that you're going to get hacked. Create an AI to defend yourself, to know what's going to be the predictions of how it's going to attack you with the methods that it knows or the methods that it suggests. But what's the other idea that you've done for usage?
So I was helping a family member with a CV, and I know exactly how I like to formulate my CVs and how to review it and what words to roughly use and how to layer it. But I was really knackered one week. But then it was the same. I think it was last week, and it was the day that I was allowed to go on Notion AI. So I was like, Notion AI, heavy lifting with writing from a dyslexic point of view, because I have to review it quite a lot. Even though I'm quite good at it, and people bring CVs to me to help out with, because I've been through the work process. It doesn't make the work any easier until Notion AI came along and literally go in, like pasting in sentences or paragraphs and going, make this smaller or make this larger or improve the grammar, or can you write 3 topics on this job that I need to insert words for or whatever. And it basically made, instead of like a day's worth of work, probably just a couple of hours, just by doing that heavy lifting of, you're then becoming the manager, reviewing someone's work rather than the worker and the manager. That by the time you've done the work, you have to review it and then send yourself back to work. Actually, you just do the AI to do the work. Then you review it, you censor it of, does that feel right? Is that feeling correct? Does it sound right? And then you hand it off to the family member to then do their final reviews on stuff. And they said it was really good. And all they had to do is change the first paragraph, because the first paragraph apparently was too confident. So they had to dial it back because they didn't believe themselves. So AI believes in you. Do you believe in you?
I think CVs, typically you should be more confident in your CV, because if I'm not going to hire a non-confident person, I'm going to hire a confident person, right? So just write your CV as a confident person. Even if you aren't, just write it. Say you're an expert because you have 10 years or something. That's something that I learned over my years. Like, make your CV super confident, because this is a piece of don't stumble at the first hurdle. Write it in a confident way. Then, like, when they see you in the interview, like, then you worry about whether or not your confidence comes through or not. But like,
and if you get the job, interview. Joke's on them because you got a wage out of it. You're a good salesperson.
Joke's on them because you're a prompt designer and you know how to run ChatGPT, so that'll cover all your job. So, but yeah, I think the research stuff, the creation stuff. So I've been using it to create advert one-liners on headlines and so forth. I've been using it to summarize stories for me. I've been using it for translation. I've realized that you can converse with it in a different language. So I've been chatting to it in Welsh and trying to see if I can box it as a Welsh AI, as that being my backend, which I have. And I've launched something called Tide.Cymru, which is Tide is Welsh for grandparent. And hat tips to my older brother, Tony, for realizing that Tide also is spelled T-A-I-D, which is quite nice. So I think the power of it is really interesting, and it's about not being scared. It's about utilizing it. And the same way we showed you the design stuff last time, we showed you a bunch of things that could generate images based off sentences, and creatives and copywriters, I would say creatives, generally speaking, I wasn't worried that AI was going to come for me because creativity is that one thing that you wouldn't be able to replicate. But then I realized creativity is basically patterns and trends and merged in together. So it can be automated as per you have 10 different poems. You can take bits of it and amalgamate it to create a new poem. Like creativity sometimes is a merge of ideas rather than one, unique thing that's never been seen before. Everything is a riff off of a riff, right? So I think I found that creatives are super annoyed. Of course, there is the copyright aspect to it, because if you're using a service, then you'd be worried that basically it's plagiarized all of the stuff that it's been trained on. But again, you've just got to move with it. You either have to be involved in the creation of it, whether or not you're in a policy level or the principles, or whether or not you then start crafting the use cases and use it in an interesting way to generate what you want to generate. But what other things can we think of that are going to automate? If you're a lawyer, you're going to be automated. Basically, if you there was a video of it putting in party A, party B, write a contract and make it this type of contract, and it automated it all together. So if you're in any way doing contracts or clauses, because clauses are repeatable stuff, that's doable. So any sort of like legal type stuff where you're filling in or creating contracts, I think that's something that could be automated. So
what they should probably do is create the helpline 111 into a just message, and you take a photo of your thing and then it asks you questions and then gives you advice.
Yeah.
And then it funnels you to a doctor to then prescribe you Z drugs or tell you to go to A&E or whatever. But then it creates that admin filling out form, building a case study on your illness or ailment of that day to free up people.
One thing I thought, in Chinese medicine, when they take a look at your tongue to figure out some stuff that's wrong with you, and we know that because our sister is an acupuncturist, I was wondering whether or not you could take a bunch of photos of tongues, categorize them, because that's what AI needs. It needs a library of data to be, it's kind of like training data. So you take a bunch of photos of tongues, you then get a specialist to go through and tell me what's wrong with the tongue. And then basically you have this database of 100 tongues, 2,000 tongues, however many, with a categorization. Then you feed it a new photo of a tongue, and it would be able to say, the probability of you having X is, 5 out of 10. The probability of you having Y is 9 out of 10 or whatever. And then you'd use it to kind of somehow, diagnose yourself. But you've got to be careful with some things, because, even if you Google stuff, it all leads to like cancer, right? Or in some of the Google searches. So
I can just imagine them just like, when it comes super powerful, it's like your expected life is 1 year and 3 months, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't take a photo of my tongue.
Why are you still here? You should have been gone with this type of tongue or whatever. So yeah, any sort of speciality that can be programmed, because you can teach a computer based on a bunch of training data that you can use.
I wonder what it would be like with medicine, of like trying to find out cures.
It's already in play, right? It's already riffing through and basically not prototyping, but like
surely you'd still have to test it on like humans or animals or whatever they have to do.
Yeah, I think
would it pull out that
programmatically,
because it would be able to program in an animal and a human and roughly what ailments they would have, so it would be like a pre-test,
like an emulator of some sorts. Yeah, I'm sure there is some sort of emulation, especially when you could probably do it if you take, for example, buildings and what do they call it? Like just a model of a building, right? And you can put it through digitally a wind turbine or whatever, then you can see where the winds are touching it. So I would assume that you could do probably something similar in kind of like, prototyping it with reactions. But I think humans and animals are more complex than like just pure physics of data, wind and like an object in the wind or whatever it is.
Fascinating stuff.
What other jobs are going to be? Yeah, so we've talked about marketing. If you're a marketeer, you should start using it to just enhance your output. So one, giving you suggestions of blog articles. Like there's this site called Ask the Public, where you can put in a keyword and it will give you all the iterations of things that are associated with that keyword that people search for. So it's like the what, where's, the hows, the do's, all the rest of it. You could take a keyword, a special keyword, put it in, get all those iterations, and then get ChatGPT to write an article that includes those words, and then you publish them. So that's something else that we're currently doing. So yeah, if you're a marketeer, that you can use that. If you're a creative, you should use it. If you're an author, you should use it. It can write songs. So if you're a songwriter, it can use it. I've not tried this yet, but I would like to know whether or not it could write out a chord sequence for you. In the sense, it'll tell you which chords to play. It might not necessarily give you the timing and the feel, but you could be like, give me a song that starts, that's in the key of C, and whether or not it would write it out for you. It definitely does poems and lyrics and all the rest of it. So yeah, if you've got ideas, you've basically got less and less kind of gap between, less and less friction. 100%. Less and less excuses. So there's no need to stand still, because ideas, the execution is being generated for you. So if you have an idea of a book, you could just write it in and it would write the book for you. Interestingly, somebody actually did do that. And the problems with doing it is the image model that they were using doesn't have consistency. So if that character of yours goes into image number two, the character doesn't look the same, because it's not cohesive enough to be able to make the character look similar throughout. And everybody was rating it 1 star in his like Amazon book, which is a shame, because he was like, it's an AI project, it's written by AI, and he was very explicit about it. But then it comes down to, if you know it's AI, there's a whole different vibe than if you don't know it's AI. For example, the concept of ghostwriters. So not every celebrity that you know has written their autobiography. Not every celebrity you know have written their own books. They've probably spoken to somebody that's then put that into a book. So we don't think, and let's take Gary Vee, because that's the first person that pops into my mind. Gary Vee has not written the book. He's said the words, right? And then they've been amalgamated into a book that makes sense and is in his tone. So it sounds like him. It's written in his style, and then published. Now, you wouldn't be upset thinking that that book was not written by Gary Vee because it was written by a ghostwriter. But if you programmed an AI to write a book in your tone and your style, then what's the problem, right? Still your essence, your idea. You've kicked it off.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dilemma, because I was speaking to someone and it was a couple, and the guy was very interested and excited and heard about how they created I think it was like an AI Twitter account. I don't know when this was. I don't know if you've come across it. And it's basically mimicking what the Twitter world looked like. And basically the AI became a lot more strong viewed, let's just say that, and they had to like discontinue it because it was getting more and more hatred and
Racist,
violent,
basically. Yeah.
just in the way it was mimicking people. But then he was talking about other things that was very interesting and uses it.
I think that was
like
a Microsoft
reviewing.
project, wasn't it?
It could
was
be,
that a Microsoft project that basically it was some character that started to tweet?
Yeah. And but he was saying he started to use it with contracts that he has to read that are huge, that he'll just ask it to summarize it. So then he'll read the summary and then obviously can dive into the big thing. But it's fascinating because the lady was like, well, you still need to know those skills. But then it's like, it's a fascinating thing because I wonder if when you change from a horse to like a car, are you like, no, you still need to learn how to ride a horse? It's like, because the skill is adapted and changed. You still, yes, there's still some horse riders. I'm pretty sure there's still, because there's like retro gaming and you still need to fix like Sega Mega Drive in like an arcade and stuff like that, which is still useful. But on the mass, is it actually, are we all transferring over to like driving a car? You still need to do a test for that. Okay, at the start you didn't because it's not regulated, just as most things when they kick off, NFTs and stuff like that, unregulated, goes boom. And then it slowly adds regulation when the masses come, just to make it a bit more either the government making money off it from a tax perspective or helping, regulate what is actually going on for humanity from a region by region or location. So it is really interesting because I was saying, well, I don't know if you'd need to know how to necessarily write anymore. Because obviously everyone used to argue, oh, you'd need a write because what if you have to write a check? Well, I've not written a check in years. A lot of the time I could just dictate that would actually spell the things correctly. Or I could get the thing to read it out to me. So actually adding the AI that is sort of the brain from like write a contract. So you just prompt it, you just prod it with a stick and it runs with the idea and then you can get it to read out. It's like, actually, as long as you know how to communicate, it's like coding. As long as you know how to communicate with the AI, that's the communication you need to learn, not necessarily other forms. So
it reminds me of
very interesting.
Going your horse cart analogy, even like manual gear stick versus an automatic car. Like, again, I think if everything's moving towards a simplicity, there is this fear that you're going to lose an aspect of complexity or that skill that you have. But then it just enables you to do other stuff. Now, obviously not in a driving case. Oh, it enables you to, X, Y, Z, but it definitely makes it simpler for longer drives. So therefore you can drive longer. If you're in the States, you're driving cross country, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's interesting. One thing that reminded me I wanted to come back to is AI voices. I'm excited. I've already programmed my voice as an AI so I can type stuff and it reads it out as me. I can't remember the name of the tool, which is annoying because I did it a couple of weeks back. And I definitely want to create an AI voice generated podcast at some point. Because I think that'd be just like super interesting for people to see how that goes down. I'm very fascinated to see how that could work if you purely generated social content based on AI voices of you, for example. You've come up with the concept through ChatGPT, you've used your AI voice to speak it out, and then you've just added that audio file to some video, either some stock video or a video that's been generated via AI based on what you've been talking about. I think social media accounts probably are already doing some of those aspects with the whole like presenter and stock footage and stuff. So I really want to like try it properly for myself to see what that's like. Which would be really, really cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I would say, are you standing still?
Summary. Nice.
Yeah, this is the summary. And then we'll switch over to Welsh for 5 minutes because I think the shorter the better. Are you standing still? Don't be afraid of these tools. They are literally here to help enhance your like abilities to push you forward onto more complex stuff, more creative stuff, more client facing, more empathy driven things. So like learn it now, engage with it now, challenge yourself to figure it out and learn for yourself. And you might be surprised. You might find an opportunity that you could create a side hustle with or a side business, or it might actually mean that your output can double or quadruple because you're using these ChatGTP things to generate more LinkedIn posts for you, which creates more sales for you. So don't be afraid of it. Don't stand still. Like move with the times. Of course, there's always downsides and bad sides to every piece of technology. It's important just focusing on where it can bring you value and bring the value to the people that you serve or the people you work with as well. And on that note, intro the sponsor.
Da chi wedi cael digon ar wneud yr un swydd dro ar ôl tro, bob dydd, bob blwyddyn. Da chi'n edrych am sialens newydd. Cerwch i weld jobin.cymru am swyddi newydd yng Nghymru.
And then do you want to also bring us in? Because you're in the Welsh top, you should bring us in Welsh. And action.
Dod yn ôl I Don't Be a Doorstop yma.
Peidiwch.
Ni'n siarad amdan cyfrifiadur yn gallu cymryd dros y byd.
Da ni yn.
Ydyn ni'n gonna siarad amdan yr un beth, neu siarad amdan rhywbeth gwahanol?
So, dwi eisiau siarad amdan yr un beth oherwydd dwi wedi creu AI, na'n defnyddio'r gair AI oherwydd da ni gyd yn gwybod be mae'n meddwl. So dwi wedi creu AI Cymraeg sydd yn gallu siarad Cymraeg hefo chi a ateb cwestiynau ac dwi wedi lansio fo, yn barod a da ni wedi galw fo'n Tide.Cymru. Mae y gair Tide yn cyfarfod I ni gyd oherwydd ella bod chi wedi gwybod eich caid. Ie. Da chi wedi dod o Tide, a da chi'n gwybod un Tide neu dau Tide, neu mae rhywun da chi'n gwybod hefo Tide. A mae Tide yn dda oherwydd mae'r llythrennau yn sillafu AI yn y canol, ond dwi'n gwybod mae hynny'n Saesneg. Ond os da chi eisiau trio AI
Wenglish
Cymraeg, teibiwch mewn Tide.Cymru triwch. Dwi'n mynd I wneud o am ddim yn cychwyn I ffwrdd, ond dwi'n mynd I newid o I bod yn pris misol. Yes. Yn rhywbryd, ond dwi'n siŵr pryd. Efallai pam dwi wedi gwario gormod o credits yn defnyddio am ddim, but dwi'n siŵr eto.
Da iawn. Ie. Mae'n mor ddiddorol siarad amdan y topic yma. Ydy fo'n newid gyda newid o Saesneg, beth mae llawer o byd yn gallu siarad, I newid I Cymraeg gyda gwahanol cymunedau, yeah, I knew it was in my head. Yn Cymru a llefydd eraill, beth fydd y job fwyaf fysa ni'n defnyddio fo I? Fydd o'n yr un fath, neu fydd o'n newydd? Cos gyda Saesneg, mae pobl yn gwybod pethau fel Netflix, neu Facebook, neu Snapchat, a yn Gymraeg, ni'n defnyddio pethau Saesneg ond trio siarad Gymraeg yn ddyn nhw. Ond fysa ni'n gallu creu apiau gwahanol oherwydd fydd ChatGPT neu gwahanol o gwefannau yn gallu helpu ni creu apps neu pethau eraill I helpu pobl sydd yn siarad Gymraeg yn fwy a ellai siarad yn Wenglish I practisio pawb sydd yn dipyn fwy yn rusty fel fy hun.
So dwi'n meddwl mae defnyddio AI I cyfieithu gwefannau o Saesneg I Cymraeg yn neud o'n haws. Mae gennym ni Google Translate yn barod, ond os fysa na dwi'n yn gwybod beth yw'r gair tôn.
Gair I gair.
Ond hefyd efo siarad hefyd, os fysa na ffordd, dwi eisiau newid, mae na texty speech, right? So ti'n sgwennu rhywbeth mewn, a mae'n egluro mewn sŵn person. So dwi isio, mae'r person yn darllen allan fel sŵn. Dwi isio connectio'r ddau ohonyn nhw i rhoi ffordd mae pobl yn gallu siarad, sgwennu yn Cymraeg, a wedyn cael pethau i darllen allan yn Cymraeg. Mae Mozilla Firefox di wneud prosiect o'r enw Common Voice, a maen nhw wedi recordio llawer o pobl yn darllen allan geiriau neu brawddegau yn Gymraeg i creu fel database o data i defnyddio mewn technoleg sy'n defnyddio'r llais. Felly dwi eisiau rhoi y ddau nhw hefo'i gilydd, a gobeithio bod pobl yn defnyddio mwy o'r Gymraeg oherwydd, a fel da ni'n deud o'r blaen, mae da ni'n siarad i'n cael ein deall. So, os da ni'n creu ffrindiau AI neu person fel therapist AI, a maen nhw'n gallu siarad yn Gymraeg, felly efallai bod hynny'n cael effaith mwy ar rhywun sydd yn iaith gyntaf Cymraeg.
Ie, mae hwnna'n dda. Ie, dwi'n gwybod mae Speechify, dwi'n meddwl. Maen nhw ddim ond yn neud Snoop Dogg a pethau fel yna. Dwi'n meddwl mae na un voice Gymraeg sydd ar no. So fydd hwnna'n dda i defnyddio hwnna i gweld sut maen nhw'n darllen allan popeth Cymraeg.
Ie, mi'n fysa'n hoffi gweld os ydy o'n bosib, so mae'n posib i fi creu llais AI Saesneg fy hun. So os dwi'n sgwennu rhywbeth, dwi yn darllen o allan, mae'r AI sy'n sowndio fel fi yn darllen allan. Os mae'r technoleg yna yn barod, felly dwi'n meddwl siarad Cymraeg, mae'n yr un fath o gwaith i wneud o yn Gymraeg, oherwydd ti ddim ond angen sŵn neu llythrennau neu geiriau i creu y model sydd yn mynd i darllen allan yn Cymraeg. So, dwi eisiau trio'r dau beth efo'i gilydd, ond am y tro yma, does na ddim ond just y AI sydd yn, da chi'n sgwennu yn ôl efo'r AI. Ond, os da chi eisiau trio fo allan, ewch i tide.cymru i siarad hefo'ch Tide AI newydd chi. Ac am y tro yma.
Na, dwi gyda segment olaf i siarad amdan.
Okay, cer.
Segment newydd. Iawn. Ni angen, ydy ti'n gallu gweld fy gwyneb i? Neu ti'n just edrych ar y camera?
Na, dwi'n gweld gwyneb ti hefyd.
Fydd hwnna'n iawn. Wyf fi'n meddwl, os ydyn ni'n gallu neud gwynebau yn ddoniol i dod i'r neud y thumbnail yma. So mae pawb yn angen gwrando i popeth i cael y tro yma, a mae pawb yn gallu gweld y proses ni'n mynd trwy.
Ie, fel da chi'n gwybod, mae Tom di mynd i ychwanegu thumbnails newydd i'r fideos da ni di wneud o'r blaen, a mae o'n trio cymryd, sydd yn gweithio'n dda, mae di cymryd darnau lle da ni'n chwerthin. Felly, os da ni'n neud thumbnail...
Trio chwerthin?
Ie, mae'n rhaid i ni aros yna. Paused. I ti cael screenshot a wedyn
neu gwynebau.
Ie. Dwi o hyd yn ffeindio gwneud gwynebau yn anodd. So,
dwi'n gwybod. Ond dwi'n ddim yn gallu gweld ti, so dwi'n just neud o yn y stafell fy hun.
So, deud i fi pam a wedyn na i neud un. Na i neud, gon. Just count ni lawr.
Neud un pob tro, dwi'n neud 1, 2, 3. Ti angen neud 3 yn nhw.
Okay, so, go.
Un gyntaf. Un ail. Un trydydd. Dyna ni. Dyma segment newydd yn dod i YouTube. Os ti'n gwrando mynd i YouTube I gweld beth oedd ni'n neud.
Ie, fysa chi'n just clywed
Spotify.
SNMR. Beth yw'r gair yna? Lle chi'n just clywed symudiadau. So, a dyna fo, da ni wedi gorffen un wythnos eto. Diolch am gwrando, diolch am aros. Os da chi heb di, be di'r gair am subscribio? Does gen i ddim clem. Ond os da chi heb di subscribio eto, cliciwch y botwm subscribe, neu hoff, neu dilyn. A tan y tro nesa, tra am nawr. End.